The dungeon everyone named Death's Lair finally fell to one stubborn man. Su Ming walked alone into an S-rank nightmare, beat the boss, and walked out with something the world wanted, a divine ring. But victory turned to trap. Allies he trusted closed in, a binding circle bloomed, and the woman he thought was on his side stabbed him where it hurt most. The artifact was the prize, and betrayal the plan. Then the impossible happened. A vortex, a blinding light, and he opens his eyes at an awakening ceremony. 18 again, the ring of defiance hot on his finger, and a golden system declaring a mythic profession, Sword God. The world that branded him a monster just got a second chance at him. He remembers everything. Old wounds, old plots, and a vow made in blood. Those who set the trap will answer, one way or another. He keeps the ring close, keeps the class secret, and goes after the one thing the last life stole from him. Time to get it right. This is not a rebirth for peace. It's a restart with memory, artifact, and a mythic path. The Academy laughs, the nobles watch, but Su Ming has the tools and a promise. Now the game begins, and this time, he writes the ending.
Everything starts on the day the awakening finally hits the world. Everyone knew the place as Death's Lair, and it had a reputation for being an S-rank dungeon. For years, nobody could get through this portal. It was the first one like it, and it just showed up out of nowhere. People tried for decades, but it never got cleared. Su Ming decided to go it alone, stepping up to face the boss by himself. He kept his cool and pushed through, eventually taking down the boss without any help. Just then, a group of guys showed up and blocked his way. They wanted the divine artifact he'd just gotten and made it clear they expected him to hand it over. Su Ming stands in the middle of a group that claims to be on his side, but things take a turn. The guys around him suddenly get aggressive, making it clear they're not as friendly as they seemed. Instead of having his back, they start pushing him around with threats, and Su Ming realizes he can't really trust any of them. Right then, he figures out he got tricked. The whole thing was just a setup so they could take his stuff. The leader of the traitors stands across from the main character, ready for a showdown. Tension hangs in the air as both know what's at stake. It's clear this isn't just any fight. There's history and unfinished business between them. The moment feels heavy, like everyone's holding their breath, watching to see who'll make the first move. Zhang Xuan gets ready and starts calling out his massive weapon, pulling it into view. Zhengxin's weapon started to light up, sparks of electricity running along its surface. It looked like it was about to do something big, and anyone watching could tell this wasn't just for show. The guy stared Su Ming down, making it clear what he wanted. If Su Ming just handed over the artifact, things wouldn't get any worse for him. It was one of those moments where the stakes felt high, and Su Ming knew he had to make a choice. So, it turns out the traitor isn't there to talk or make any deals, he's just planning to wipe out all of the guy's powers. The main dude feels completely let down, thinking back to how he always had this guy's back, almost like family, ever since they were both 18. Now he finally gets just how toxic his old friend really is. They only cared about getting the divine item, so the hero let loose with serious energy, not holding anything back. He calls out the traitors, daring them to try and take the divine ring from him. He stands his ground, showing he's not scared, and waits to see if anyone's actually brave enough to step up. The guys start to get nervous when they see what Su Ming can do, but Zhang Xuan stands his ground and refuses to back off. Zhang Xuan knows they're almost there. The plan is basically finished, and just one last thing stands in their way. It's that moment where everything feels right on the edge, close enough to imagine the win, but not quite safe yet. Out of nowhere, a woman showed up above him, calling out his name loud enough for everyone to hear. He doesn't see it coming at all. One second, everything's normal, and the next, something totally unexpected happens. He just stands there, caught off guard, not sure how to react at first. It turns out to be someone he knows, a girl named Shaimin. The girl wraps her arms around him, holding on tight. She'd been anxious since she heard about the trap, and now that she sees him, there's this look of real relief on her face. Su Ming just grinned, looking pretty confident. With the ring on his finger, he felt untouchable, like nothing could mess with him now. Su Ming couldn't figure out how those guys managed to find him. It didn't make sense. He hadn't told anyone where he'd be. The thought bugged him, replaying over and over in his mind as he tried to come up with an answer. At the same time, the leader of the traitors stands back, grinning in a way that shows he's up to no good. He just watches everything unfold, clearly enjoying the chaos. Out of nowhere, Shaimin turns on him. He never saw it coming, and for a moment, everything just stops. It's like his mind can't quite process what just happened. Shaimin, the one person he thought he could trust, just stabbed him in the back. RMC just stood there, trying to process what happened. He trusted her, and now it felt like the ground had dropped out from under him. It was tough to wrap his head around the fact that she went behind his back. All the times they'd hung out and shared stuff suddenly felt different, and now he wasn't sure what to think. Zhang Juan couldn't help but feel proud as the plan worked out just like he hoped. He quickly set off the binding formation, locking everything into place. A red magic circle started to appear. As soon as it happens, a strange mark shows up, and he finally gets it. Someone's been messing with him behind his back this whole time. The traitor steps over to Zhang Xuan's side, making it clear she had been working with him the whole time. Turns out she was just using the hero to get what she wanted. When she spotted Su Ming's 9-star talent, she realized right away that he could help her get what she wanted. The main guy can't believe what just happened. Betrayed by someone he trusted, it hits him hard. The anger builds up until he just loses it, yelling out as loud as he can. All that trust is gone, and now there's nothing left but pure frustration. The leader of the traitors didn't waste any time. He gave the signal, and suddenly all his guys rushed at the intruder, trying to take the artifact from him. Out of nowhere, a huge bony hand crashed up through the dirt. Suddenly, a girl wearing a hoodie steps into the scene and signals for everyone to pause. Her magic slammed into the enemy's attacks, sparks flying as the two forces battled for control. He's totally lost, wondering why she showed up out of nowhere. There's a girl hovering above the ground, like she's just hanging there, totally weightless. Ji Yao, who knows some seriously dark magic, tries to encourage Su Ming. She doesn't want him to quit, even when things get rough. Zhang Xuan gets annoyed when another person arrives, thinking it's just someone else about to lose. He acts all confident, telling himself that there's no way Su Ming can escape this time, not even if an emperor tried to help. With so many strong fighters backing him up, Zhang Xuan feels like they've already won. They rush forward, ready to go for another round. The fight starts, and the girl steps up, going against a bunch of guys all at once. She keeps Su Ming safe, making sure no one gets close to him while she handles the attackers. The traitor charges forward, throwing all his strength into the attack. He doesn't hold back, making it clear to everyone around that he's serious. Nobody standing in his path is safe right now. Su Ming spots trouble fast. He sees someone sneaking up behind Ji Yao and his gut tightens. Without thinking, he shouts out, trying to warn her before anything bad happens. The traitor goes after Ji Yao, landing a hard hit without holding back. Ji Yao barely has time to react before the next blow comes, making it clear the traitor isn't playing around or showing any sympathy. He just stood there, frozen, staring as her name slipped out under his breath. He couldn't believe what was happening, almost like his brain refused to catch up. Zhang Shuang realized he shouldn't be thinking about anyone else right now, since he's the one up next. The traitor leader didn't waste any time. He charged straight at Su Ming, making it clear that he wasn't messing around. It was obvious he wanted Su Ming out of the way, just like everyone else. The boy's injuries are serious. Junction looks at him and makes it clear he has to give up what he's carrying if he wants any chance of making it out alive. Blood dripped from the hero's mouth as anger burned in his eyes. He shouts at everyone, calling them out, and then pulls off this insane move that looks almost unreal. The power coming off the scene was wild, and the traitors could hardly believe what they were seeing. Most of them just stood there, frozen, as the energy burst out in front of them. It was obvious none of them had expected things to get that intense. Right after the explosion, the guy tries to find Ji Yao, shouting his name as thick smoke fills the air around him. He holds her close, wondering why she showed up, especially after everything he did to mess things up. He watches as she gently puts her hand on his cheek, and right then, regret shows up on his face. Ji Yao grinned, looking over at his friends. He made it clear that if one of them was going, they were all going. No one was getting left behind. The hero's sword crashes down and hits the ground hard, sending out a burst of energy that everyone can see. The enemies just stood there, watching in silence, looking pretty confused about what was going on. Su Ming held Ji Yao close, his mind set on a promise. In that moment, as the god of slaughter, he made a silent vow. He made up his mind that if he ever got another shot at life, he wouldn't let things slide. Ren Xiaomin and Zhang Xuan were definitely going to pay, no matter what it took or how long it would take him. The traitors look around, not sure what's going on. Their leader watches the hero closely, trying to figure out what he's planning. Right then, Zhang Xuan realizes he wants to bring the divine artifact back into Death's lair. Out of nowhere, a huge vortex pops up again right where the portal was. The main guy steps forward, challenging everyone to try and take the divine item from him. Without hesitating, he jumps straight into the swirling vortex, leaving everyone behind. He and Geo tumbled into the portal as the hero held out the ring to the enemies, trying to make a deal. The artifact in Su Ming's hand started to shine bright, lighting up the space around him. Everything goes bright all at once, like someone just turned on a massive light. The main guy isn't sure if he just passed out or something else happened. He's stuck in that weird moment, trying to figure out what's real. He opens his eyes to find himself somewhere completely unfamiliar. As he looks around, nothing looks familiar and he starts to wonder how he even got there. The place feels almost unreal and he's left trying to figure out what happened. He glances up and spots what seems to be a school building ahead. A guy stands with a microphone in his hand, looking like he's about to host something important. He spots a guy standing on stage, talking to a bunch of students. Everyone's attention snapped to the screen as the announcement played. It said that one of the students had just awakened as a 3-star enchanter. Suddenly, the room felt different, like something big had just happened. People started glancing around, wondering who it was. Some looked excited, others seemed a bit unsure, but nobody wanted to miss what would happen next. Su Ming found himself back at the awakening ceremony. The place felt just as tense as before, packed with people who were all waiting to see what would happen next. Everyone seemed to be holding their breath, eyes on him, and he could feel the weight of their attention pressing down. It was hard not to notice how serious things had gotten, but Su Ming kept his focus, ready for whatever was coming. Everything about this feels strangely familiar to him, almost like he's been through it all once already. He figures out he's somehow back at 18, right on the day of the ceremony. Then he remembers that student who just awakened, Wang Cheng, the chubby kid. He remembers that the guy used to be an enchanter in his old life too. The announcer kept going, and Li Sung-young got upgraded to a 2-star warrior. Meanwhile, Qian Yu didn't make it. The student can't help but feel proud of himself after finally reaching the level of a 2-star warrior. It's a big deal for him, and he takes a moment to soak it all in. This is something he's been working toward for a while, so the sense of achievement is real. He's pumped up, knowing he's finally made some solid progress. The next kid steps up and just breaks down, tears running down his face. His awakening didn't go right at all, and it hit him hard. The disappointment was clear as he realized things hadn't turned out like he hoped. Song Li finally wakes up as a combat mage, and the crowd around him cheers. He looks a little surprised at first, but then a grin spreads across his face as he soaks in the moment. There's a buzz of excitement in the air, with everyone clearly hyped to see what he's just pulled off. Song stands tall, feeling proud and a bit relieved, enjoying the energy from everyone around him. The main guy stands back and watches everything unfold with a small, knowing grin. It's pretty clear he saw this coming way before anyone else did. He smiles, realizing deep down that this really is a new start for him. It finally sinks in, he's not the same person he used to be. Just then, his face shifts as something comes back to him. He thinks this is his shot to make things right. Suddenly, one of the guys in class gets all worked up and starts making a scene about some hidden combat job. Everyone turns to look, caught off guard by how loud he is, and the room gets a bit tense as they try to figure out what he's talking about. Zhang Tong wakes up and finds out he's turned into a magic hammer warrior. It's not what he expected, but now he's got this power, and everything around him suddenly feels different. He looks at his hands, realizing things are about to change in a big way. On top of everything else, it turns out his natural ability is ranked at 8 stars. Everyone in the crowd starts cheering when they spot him. He's the young master from the Zheng family, and everyone knows his parents are seriously powerful. He looks over at Zhang Tang, his face set and focused, not breaking eye contact. While the announcer praised the academy for having an 8-star genius, Su Ming suddenly felt a tap on his shoulder. Zhao showed up, saying she'd been searching for him. He looks at her with an expression she can't quite figure out. Noticing it, she tries to understand what's up with him. Meanwhile, he suddenly congratulates her for something, but she has no clue what he's talking about, which just leaves her even more confused. Right then, he remembers how she once gave up everything for him in his past life. The memory hits him hard, and it's like for a second, everything else fades away. He can't ignore how much that moment still matters to him, even now. He smiles when he sees her, looking like he's actually glad she showed up. Deep down, he knows she doesn't get what's going on yet, but he figures she'll catch on before long. When the announcer called Jill up for her awakening, she started to feel nervous. The guy gestures for her to put her hand on the awakening totem. She hesitates for a second, not really sure what to expect, but then she reaches out and rests her hand on it, feeling a little nervous. The girl stretches out her hand and touches the blue energy. As soon as she makes contact, the light gets way brighter, almost lighting up everything around her. She didn't expect it when a blue light started wrapping around her, covering her from head to toe. For a second, she just stood there trying to process what was going on. Out of nowhere, a huge wave of power sweeps through the area. The crowd instantly starts talking, everyone realizing that someone with a rare profession just showed up. Word started spreading that Jill had just awakened as a necromancer. It was one of those rare 7-star secret classes that barely anyone ever got. When another secret combat profession showed up right after the first, the students couldn't believe it. Everyone started whispering and looking around, trying to figure out what was going on. Some guys pulled out their phones like they were about to post about it, while others just stared, wide-eyed. The whole room buzzed with excitement and curiosity. Su Ming grins, not surprised at all. This is what he was waiting for. Now it's finally his moment. The announcer says his name, and everyone in the crowd looks at him with doubt. To them, he's just some orphan with no real talent. In this world, the Awakened run the show. They pretty much call the shots in a place everyone knows as Dragon Country. A long time back, something called the Awakening happened. Ever since then, when someone hits 18, they get the chance to switch up what they do for work. With this, they get access to new powers and gear that could totally flip how their lives turn out. But at the same time, they have to deal with wild monsters and risky dungeons. On top of everything else, there are still tons of other problems they have to deal with. Back in his last life, the main guy grew up without any parents. He learned to get by with whatever help he could find, like handouts and scholarships. On the day everyone had been waiting for, the awakening finally happened. He got lucky and ended up with a 9-star attribute. He was known as the legendary God of Slaughter, a title that meant he was seriously strong. In this new life, he's ready to prove himself all over again. Everyone's watching, and he knows it's his chance to step up and remind them what he can do. The announcer notices something weird with the power in the air and starts to think it might actually be a 9-star genius causing it. Ji Yao and the other students just stand there, frozen. They can't help but think this might be another one of those hidden jobs or something. Everyone's looking around trying to figure out what's going on. The hero takes a steady breath, getting ready to handle the rune's power again. He knows what's coming, but he's not backing down now. His hands tense up a little as he focuses, reminding himself he's done this before and he can do it again. Out of nowhere, a light starts shining on his chest. He looks down and spots the Ring of Defiance, the divine artifact, lighting up. It takes him a second to process what's happening, but he quickly gets what it means. He looks down at his hand, surprised to see the same ring still there. Somehow, it made the jump with him. Suddenly, a bright screen flashes in front of him, locking him into a new path, a mythic profession called Sword God. He stared at the screen, barely able to process what he was seeing. Somehow, he'd just unlocked a mythic job, the Sword God. Suddenly, the whole sky lights up with wild streaks of purple and red, spreading everywhere overhead. It looks unreal, like something out of a game or a crazy special effect, making everyone stop and stare. The teacher just stands there, mouth open, trying to figure out what kind of job could make something like this happen. One of the guys thought it would be pretty disappointing if it ended up being a job that didn't involve any fighting. The hero from the Jung family eyes the main guy, looking like he doesn't trust him one bit. He starts to notice that the guy just stands there, not moving at all, even though everything around him is buzzing with action. It makes him curious, trying to figure out why someone would freeze up like that when things are getting intense. The main guy figures out that his job isn't what it used to be. He's now called Sword God. This isn't what he signed up for, and it takes a second to process. Still, he knows he has to roll with it, even if everything's about to change. He reached out and pressed his hand against the golden system screen. He spots right away that the system isn't like the one he remembered from before. It looks new, with stuff he hasn't seen, and he can't help but stare for a second, trying to figure out how it works now. The screen lit up with his name, and right below it, his new job popped up, Sword God. The system then tells him he has this rare golden talent that lets him turn anything into something better. He just stood there, totally caught off guard. This new skill was way better than anything he had before, even better than his old 9-star job. He couldn't help but smile to himself, already thinking how crazy strong he'd get if this was legit. He thinks this new power will make him even stronger than he used to be when everyone feared him as the God of Slaughter. When the skill screen pops up, he notices there's nothing unlocked at all. He just stares, totally lost, not sure what's going on. The main guy clenches his fists, his face turning red as frustration takes over. He looks around, upset, thinking about how he doesn't have any skills, not even one. For a second, he just stands there, breathing hard, annoyed at himself more than anyone else. While all this is going on, the announcer starts getting impatient, wondering why Su Ming is still not finished. It's clear he's taking longer than everyone expected, and people are starting to notice. The guy starts thinking about how having no powers pretty much makes him like everyone else. He can't help but wonder if the system is just playing games with him at this point. He looks at the screen and sees a message pop up. The system tells him it's getting feedback and needs to figure out which ring he's using. Out of nowhere, the Ring of Defiance shows up in the protagonist's hand. The system finally figures out what the divine artifact is. The system screen shines brightly, lighting up his face in the dark room. Suddenly, a bright golden light bursts upward, stretching straight into the sky. The energy behind it is intense, lighting up everything around and grabbing everyone's attention. The announcer notices the lights flicker and his eyes go wide. He can't help but think about what just happened and starts to question if the awakening has finished. A star with the number 10 lit up in the night sky. The guy stared up, not really trusting what he was seeing. It just didn't make sense. Stuff like this never happened, not even in wild TikTok stories. He kept looking, trying to figure out if he was dreaming or if something was seriously off. Right then, everyone finds out he's unlocked this rare hidden job called Star Sword Controller. The students stare in disbelief, trying to figure out what kind of 10-star monster just showed up. Some of them can't help but pull out their phones, snapping pictures and sending them to friends. Everyone's mind races with guesses, but nobody really knows what they're looking at. The whole room buzzes with excitement and nervous energy as everyone waits to see what happens next. Zhang Tang stands there, not sure what to say. Nearby, a guy who used to brag about his 8 stars can't help but notice there's a student around with 10. Suddenly, his own achievement doesn't seem so impressive anymore. This year, the Academy's got a lot of new faces, and everyone can tell there's some serious potential in the crowd. Even the announcer seems pretty hyped about all the fresh talent showing up. Everyone knew the job wasn't exactly top tier, but people could see that Su Ming had something special. His skills stood out, and there was this sense that, no matter where he started, he could go really far. His talent was that obvious. After that, the principal steps up and gives the main guy some cultivation gear as a reward. But instead of being impressed, everyone in the crowd starts laughing at him. They start talking about how his class is the weakest one out of all the swordsmen, and nobody thinks he stands a chance. The hero listens in and realizes that everyone else thinks his sword controller class is basically useless. Out of nowhere, Jiao rushed over to Su Ming, wanting to say something. The girl gives him a smile, nodding at his achievement, and he does the same for her, both of them quietly recognizing each other's progress. Everyone could tell his talent was off the charts, like he was born for this. Even though his class had some clear problems, it seemed obvious he'd find a way through. With that kind of skill, nobody really doubted he'd figure it out. He gave her a quick nod, letting her know he appreciated the help. Whatever rumors or talk had been going around, he honestly couldn't care less. That stuff just didn't bother him. He admits to himself that this is how he hoped they'd react, and seeing the girl looking lost just makes him feel like he's got the upper hand. At the same time, the announcer steps up and calls out the name of the next student who's supposed to go through the awakening ceremony. The crowd goes wild, clapping and yelling for the girl. She stands out, not just because she's good-looking, but because everyone can't help but notice her. Ren's shaman steps forward, catching the attention of everyone around. Zhang Tong stands back, watching her closely, curiosity written all over his face. He doesn't say anything, just keeps his eyes on her, trying to figure out what she's really up to. The hero from the Zheng family gives her a quick wish for luck, and she just nods back, showing she's ready for whatever comes next. Everyone at school knew the girl was the prettiest around, and Ji Yao noticed how much attention she got because of it. The main character turns around and walks away, not even bothering to watch what's happening. Clearly, he doesn't care about whatever's going on right now. He thinks back to his previous life and realizes the traitor always used his skills just to climb higher. He remembers how, at the end, the girl turned on him right away without even thinking twice. He suddenly thinks back to the promise he made right before everything went wrong. He swears to himself that someday he'll make things right and pay them back for everything they've done. Su Ming steps out of the ceremony and heads into the city. He walks along the busy streets, blending in with the crowd as he goes, his mind replaying everything that just happened. The noise and lights of the city surround him, but he keeps moving, not really paying attention to anyone around him. In this new life, he starts to notice that his daily routine hasn't really changed at all. Everything looks and feels just like it did before, almost like nothing's different. The only real difference in his life now was his job. He kept everything about it completely hidden. He can hide his info or change it whenever he wants. He suddenly realizes this is one of the 4 skills he picked up back in his old life. Right then, the Ring of Defiance showed up, glowing right in front of him. He stared down at his hand, not really believing what he was seeing. Somehow, the divine artifact had ended up with him. For a second, he couldn't move, just trying to figure out how this even happened. It was wild. He never thought he'd actually hold something like this. He finds out from the system that some of his old job skills have carried over to this new life. Now he gets it. He's got the Sword God class, and those God of Slaughter skills are his to use. He checks his status screen and sees something wild. His job isn't like anyone else's. It's the only one in the world, and it's actually rated as Mythic, which is basically top tier. He remembers how things went down before and doesn't want to get played again. So he figures he has to get stronger this time. He chooses to keep his job a secret and tries to enjoy this fresh start as best he can. The day after the awakening ceremony sticks in the hero's mind. He can still picture how everything felt so new and a little confusing, like the world had changed overnight. The Rookie Dungeon Challenge is about to open up for everyone. For him, this isn't really hard, but he knows he still has to level up and grab better gear. He thought it over and made up his mind. He was going after the toughest boss in the whole place. Before doing anything else, the main guy realizes he needs to find himself a solid weapon. At the same time, over at a fancy hotel in the city called the Palace, things were unfolding. Ren Shaman and Zhang Tong were sitting close, lost in their own world. It was one of those moments where everything else faded out. Both seemed comfortable, like they trusted each other with stuff they probably didn't tell anyone else. Their shoulders almost touched, and the way they looked at each other showed they were way more than just business partners. For a second, the usual noise of trading life didn't matter. This was just about the two of them. The girl wasn't happy about being there, and it showed. The guy could feel his patience wearing thin, especially since Su Ming ended up being the center of attention instead of him. It was hard not to get frustrated when things didn't go the way he planned. Zhang Tong couldn't help but wonder what the girl was up to. She pulled out her phone and turned the screen toward him, showing something that caught his attention right away. When he spots the phone, the Zhang family's son suddenly goes quiet. His face turns serious, all the usual goofiness gone as he stares at the screen. It's clear something on that phone just got his full attention. Xiaomin started thinking ahead. She had her own plan and wanted to make sure Su Ming would be useful to her later on. She figured out a way to trick him, already setting things in motion without him even realizing it. Far from that spot, the main guy shows up at this massive building, ready to pick out his weapon. He makes his way up to the 12th floor, where all the weapon shops are. There are students everywhere, crowding the place and filling up every spot. He hears some guys talking about how they can't really buy the pricey weapons at school. Everyone crowded in, checking out this sword that was on display. It had a crazy price tag, 1 million, and what really got everyone talking was the fact that it could actually freeze the blood of monsters. Guys were snapping pics, posting stories, and trying to get a closer look, all wondering who would even buy something like that. He smirked to himself, knowing the weapon was just a fake. The memory of those sellers getting busted flashed through his mind, and he felt a bit more at ease. Out of nowhere, a woman stepped in front of him, flanked by 2 bodyguards. She knew his name and called out to him, making him freeze on the spot. Zhang Lan walked up and let him know who she was. She was the vice director at Jiangyan Conglomerate. She handed him a business card, her expression calm and professional like she'd done this 100 times before. Su Ming grabs the card, totally confused about who this woman is. Zhang Lan steps up and tells him he can get whatever he wants from the store, but there's a catch. He needs a favor in return. The guy wonders what favor the woman needs, and she pulls out her phone, getting ready to show him a photo. One of the bodyguards pulled out his phone and held it up so the main guy could see the screen. In the photo, a really pretty girl sits right in the center of a garden filled with white flowers. The woman explains that her sister is Zhang Yongqing. She already knows about Su Ming and his rare 10-star talent. She wanted him to team up with her sister and watch her back while they went into the rookie dungeon. There were only stairs. He turned her down right away. The woman, not missing a beat, told him he could pick any weapon he wanted if he changed his mind and said yes. Su Ming lifted his finger and aimed it straight at the priciest weapon in the shop. He looks over the choices, thinks for a second, and picks the one that stands out to him. The weapon the hero's after is called the Frosty Sky's Cold Sword. It's not cheap. This thing costs $1 million. The woman heard what he said and instantly got irritated. She looked at him, clearly not buying his confidence about being worth $1 million. The main guy explains that he was the one who made the offer in the first place. If she isn't into it, he's cool with that. He points out that money isn't the answer to everything and thinks her sister should get ready for what's coming. The vice director looked at him, kind of sizing him up, and seemed to think he was different from the others. Still, there was a clear warning in the air. They weren't about to let what he did slide. It was obvious that whatever happened today wouldn't be forgotten anytime soon. Everyone in the crowd couldn't believe he actually stood up to the big company. People stared, some nudged their friends, and a few even pulled out their phones ready to share what just happened. It wasn't every day someone had the guts to go against people with that much power. Out of nowhere, his phone buzzes in his pocket. He glances at the screen, curious about who just texted him. He notices the message on his phone, and it's from the trader, Ren Shaman. He spots that message from his past life again. Looking at it, he can't help but notice the girl is still just like he remembers. She hasn't really changed at all. Right then, he thought back to his past life. He remembered how easily he got caught up in her scheme back then, not even realizing what was happening until it was too late. Now, the main guy decides to go along with her plan and locks in the meetup. After that, Su Ming walks over to the saleswoman. He wants to ask her something, so he gets her attention, looking a bit unsure but determined to figure things out. The hero wanted to know more about the sword stones, so he brought it up. The woman let him know that these stones could actually make some pretty solid weapons, the silver grade kind. The employee lets him know it's all just luck. But the guy doesn't mind. That's actually what he's looking for. The salesman stands there, not sure what's going on. He looks around, trying to figure things out, but nothing really makes sense to him right now. Right now, the hero figures it's smartest to put his money on a weapon that doesn't cost much. He knows his options are limited, so he's keeping things low-key and practical, hoping this call helps him get by for now. But the truth is, he's not just taking a wild guess. He actually sees the numbers hidden inside the stones. He could do this because of a special skill he picked up in his last life, something called the legendary Eye of Perception. He gives a quick smirk and picks up the stone on the right. In his head, he's already thinking that getting it for 50 coins is a pretty sweet deal. Some of the students noticed him right away and started eyeing whatever he had in his hands, trying to figure out what it was. The guys look at him and start laughing, giving him a hard time for turning down the offer just so he can mess around with some rocks. The main guy lets out a deep breath when he spots Yang Ding, the same jerk who used to mess with him back in his old life. The hero steps up to the bully, not backing down. He throws out a challenge, putting 5,000 coins on the line. The guys stop talking right away, caught off guard by what Su Ming just suggested. But then everyone just cracks up, not holding back at all, and the main guy ends up getting roasted by the group. Everyone around kept calling the stones worthless, just some rocks that nobody should care about. But Su Ming stayed calm, almost like he knew something they didn't. He quietly let everyone know they were about to find out who really had the upper hand when it came to money. With the bet set, he steps up, ready to crack open the stone right then and there. The bully doesn't really believe the guy has 5,000 coins to spend, but then the system goes ahead and opens up the stone anyway. The hero grinned and turned on his special skill, the Eye of Perception. He spots a bright red sword stuck deep inside the stone. It looks strong, like it's waiting for someone to pull it out. The red sword slowly starts to come loose from the stone. The hero smashed the stone, and for the first time, everyone could see the weapon hidden inside. Everyone just stares, caught off guard by what they're seeing. No one expected this, and it's like the whole place freezes for a second. Su Min reaches out and takes hold of his new sword, gripping the handle tightly. Everyone else in the store freezes when they see what just happened. The students look around at each other, not sure what to do next. Some of them even step back, trying to figure out if they should get involved or just stay out of it. The mood in the store shifts, with everyone suddenly paying close attention. On the screen, it shows that the weapon is a dark iron sword. It's not just tough, it actually has the power to heal the person who owns it. He grins to himself, thinking the weapon is just right for his date. Yang Ding and his boys just froze, eyes wide, not really processing what they just saw. Su Ming actually yanked a silver rank weapon out of the stone, and none of them could wrap their heads around it. Su Ming checked out the sword in his hand and thought it was pretty solid. The lifesteal part especially caught his attention. He realized he wouldn't even need a healer for the next dungeon run. The system showed that the weapon was a silver rank black steel sword, and it had a plus 10% lifesteal boost. Yang Ding froze, his mind racing, as Su Ming leveled the blade right at him. He let the bully know straight up that a bet's a bet, so those 5,000 Advent coins belonged to him now. Yang Ding realized he had no other choice, so he just sent the money over. He stormed out, yelling about how he'd remember getting embarrassed like that. Su Ming just told him to stop making dumb bets. The shop assistant stood there, stunned, thinking it'd been forever since anyone had actually found a real weapon inside one of those stones. Su Ming, clutching his fresh winnings, made his way over to the counter to check out a scabbard. He dropped the question about whether 5,000 coins would cover it, and the assistant, clearly caught off guard, nodded and said that was more than enough. He picked up a gold-decorated scabbard at silver rank, and now his weapon wouldn't break down as fast. Durability loss got cut in half. Su Ming felt pretty good about it, realizing this would seriously cut down on how much the sword got messed up over time. He gripped his sword, still in its sheath, when out of nowhere a system message showed up on his screen, asking if he wanted to turn on this secret feature called Weapon Manifestation. He held back for now, figuring it wasn't the right moment. A small grin popped up as he remembered he still had work to do. This new weapon needed leveling up before it was really game time. After a while, Su Ming was walking through the park, letting his mind run over everything that had happened. He realized that even after becoming the sword god, he didn't get a single class skill he could actually use. Still, his class did give him this insane primal talent that was on a whole other level. Universal Ascension. With this rare skill, he could level up any item once, making his mythic class actually live up to the hype. With his sword in hand, he checked out what this new power could do. A system pop-up showed up, letting everyone know that Universal Ascension just kicked off. He pulled off the Ascension, and just like that, he got the Crimson Drinker effect. The sword started glowing with this intense red vibe, looking way more powerful than before. The last notification popped up, showing off the sword's upgrade. Now it was a crimson black steel sword, sitting at high silver rank. The crimson drinker ability got a buff. It could suck up an enemy's blood as soon as it hit. On top of that, the sword unlocked a new move called Bloodthirst, giving a solid stat boost for half a minute every time he took down a monster. Su Ming checked out his upgrade and felt pretty good about it. Once he finished getting everything ready, he fired up his hidden weapon skill, totally sure that tomorrow's beginner dungeon wouldn't even slow him down. That night, Su Ming made his way up to the rooftop on the school building. He stood there with the city lights behind him, holding his new sword, ready for whatever came next. Ren Xiaoman had already shown up. She spun around, flashed a flirty grin, and gave him a hard time for showing up late. Her smile disappeared right away. Su Ming didn't say anything, he just went for it, swinging his sword straight at her. She let out a loud scream. She dodged just in time, and the blade slammed into the concrete right where she'd been standing a second before. She just stood there, totally thrown off, trying to figure out what he was up to. Su Ming stared her down, eyes cold and steady. He was locked in, making it clear he was there to settle the score. Out of nowhere, that memory from his last life hit him the moment everything ended. He remembered holding Ji Yao, who was barely hanging on, while Ren Xiaoman just stood there, not even caring. Ren Xiaoman just stood there, totally confused and kinda mad. She wanted answers, since she'd literally just said yes to his confession. She pulled out her phone and scrolled to the messages, putting the screen up so everyone could see the text where he admitted he liked her and shot his shot. She snapped, reminding him that he was the one who chased after her in the first place. Now, she just couldn't figure out why he was acting like this and messing with her. Su Ming didn't say a word, he just stood there, face locked and unreadable. He shot her a cold, confident smirk, like he was already 2 steps ahead. He let her know she was right about the confession, but that was old news, something from another life. His thoughts jumped to the past, thinking about how things used to be between them. She was basically the queen of school, everyone knew her, while he was just that quiet kid with no family, always on his own. He remembered the day right after his first awakening ceremony. He sat there looking down and kind of out of it. Then she walked over, smiled at him, and checked if he was okay. Ever since that day, he could tell someone actually cared about him. So he ended up just texting and telling the truth. They kept hanging out, going on dates and getting closer, spending more time just the two of them. But those good times didn't last after the memory hit him. There was a photo of her and Zhang Tong together, showing what reaching her goal really looked like. He got betrayed. Right now, Su Ming's face twisted up, totally pissed off, as he yelled that none of it was true. He went off on her, saying he was onto all her sketchy stuff with Zhang Tong, and that she'd just been playing him the whole time. Ren Xiaoman totally froze up, stumbling over his words and trying hard to play it off like none of it was true. He just wanted to shut down whatever was being thrown at him. Su Ming wasn't backing down. He let her know she already knew if he was telling the truth or not, and he called out her whole confident, pretty act as totally fake. He got real close, his words coming out sharp, letting her know he thought she was just all about herself and didn't care what anyone else thought. Ren Xiaoman totally lost it. Her calm was gone, and she looked straight up angry, not even trying to hide it anymore. She totally lost it on him, yelling and throwing the whole orphan thing in his face. She basically said the only reason she even bothered talking to him was because he had some talent. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stood a chance. She got fired up and basically warned him that she and Zhang Tang weren't about to let that disrespect slide. Su Ming just brushed off her threats like they were nothing, barely even fazed. He looked at her, kind of daring her to actually do something, but made it clear she should probably be stressing about how this whole mess might wreck her squeaky clean reputation. That last tease just set her off, and she lost control. He was boiling inside, barely holding it together. She rushed over and grabbed the sword Su Ming left stuck in the concrete, swinging it right at him. As the blade came at him, Su Ming couldn't help but think how this was exactly like what happened before, back in his past life. This time, he was ready. Right before the sword could hit, red energy shot out from his blade, freezing it in place. Ren Xiaoman just stood there, not believing what he was seeing. Su Ming wasn't surprised at all. He'd pretty much expected this, since he already knew she was the type to turn on people. His screen flashed with a system message letting him know that Crimson Drinker on his weapon was now active. Red energy shot out from the blade and snaked around Ren Xiaoman, locking him in place. Su Ming finally let his plan show. As soon as he aimed his weapon's power at her, it was basically game over. The tendrils flew out and smacked her right in the face. She screamed loud, freaking out because she thought her face was messed up for good. She dropped to the floor, and Su Ming just stood there looking down at her. He didn't show any emotion, just made it clear this was all on her. He was ready to say it. This was where his payback started. She suddenly cut him off, yelling that Zhang Tang was coming for him. Su Ming didn't even flinch. He just called his sword back and watched it fade away straight into his inventory, like it was no big deal. Su Ming lets her know that Zhang Tong can pull up and handle things whenever he's ready. After that, he figured the haircut pretty much wiped out whatever feelings he used to have for her. Suddenly, a screen pops up showing a reward from the school, some pills, 10,000 coins, and a fresh combat suit. The next morning, he checks out the pill he picked up from school. Su Ming eats it and thinks the principal was generous but pities the limitations of his class. Rewritten script, Su Ming took a bite and had to admit, the principal really went all out. Still, he couldn't help but feel bad about how much his class was held back. Just like that, the system pops up. He's now level 2 and gets 10 extra points to boost his stats. His new passive just kicked in, and now he can pick up any sword skill out there. He's all fired up, ready to flex his skills in the newbie dungeon. When he gets to the academy, the beginner dungeon area is already packed out with students everywhere. He moves through the spot, weaving between people as he heads deeper into the crowd. His face changes fast, and he suddenly looks pretty annoyed about whatever just happened. Some students spot the main guy and jump at the chance to squat up with him. Su Ming just laughs it off and calls them funnies, not taking it seriously at all. He says no to joining because he's already got his own crew. Suddenly, this girl with bright pink hair shows up and wants to know if he's got his squad set up yet. She showed up way ahead of everyone else, just so she could be the first one on his team. He lets her know he's not looking for regular rewards and warns her she might get hurt if she keeps going. He shares that he's planning to do his own thing, and the girl steps back, looking a bit let down. Right then, this guy Yanzi walks up to him and asks if he wants to join his team. He remembers that Yanzi used to be a 9-star too in his last life, so he just passes on the offer. Right at that moment, the pink-haired girl lets everyone know the main guy is hanging out with her. The other dude realizes it, says sorry, and dips out. He gives her a quick nod to show he appreciates the help, and she just waves off the crowd, telling everyone to head out. He checks his watch, realizing it's almost time for the dungeon to kick off. Suddenly, a massive portal pops open, and just like that, the newbie dungeon run kicks off. Suddenly, a hologram of the principal pops up. He looks kinda sorry and says he's about to go over all the rules. He lets everyone know that they're already signed up and says they'll rack up points for whatever they do to help out. The pink-haired girl seems locked in and all set, but out of nowhere, she notices that Su Ming isn't there anymore. He's just straight up disappeared. The principal lets everyone know the dungeon's open now, and any student can check it out. One of the students suddenly points out that someone had already jumped into the portal before the rest of the group even noticed. Someone else speaks up, saying he saw it happen too. That's when they all figure out it was Su Ming, the dude with the 10 stars. He gets teleported right into the dungeon, grinning like he's ready for whatever's about to go down. He steps inside, and right away, the place just brings back memories. He can't help but remember how freaked out he used to get here. The system drops a warning that the multiversal massacre is kicking off soon, making it clear this spot's risky, but could be a chance to level up if you play it smart. This time around, he decides he's all in picking the toughest path and going straight for the secret boss. It's night inside the dungeon. He's walking through Raging Tide Forest, and right away he spots that the map doesn't line up with what he remembers from before. He's also aware there's a bunch of unpredictable stuff still lurking in this dungeon. Everyone spawns somewhere random, so nobody's run ever looks the same. It's wild because the monsters that show up are different for everyone. He runs into this monster tree that looks way tougher than anything he's seen so far. The thing just gives off serious boss vibes. He's locked in on finding the hidden boss, so he's got to dodge all these random mobs getting in his way. He headed in ahead of everyone, checking out the path and grabbing whatever gear he needed before the boss fight. He's got his plan set, so he jumps into action without wasting any time. He takes off fast, knowing it'll get way harder to grab what he needs if the crowd shows up. At 7,030 in the morning, another student showed up and stepped into the dungeon. She and her crew look around and realize it's just them. The whole place is dead silent, not a single other challenger in sight. Out of nowhere, they catch this weird sound echoing through the trees. One of the guys spots someone sprinting far off and lets everyone know that's where the noise came from. Out of nowhere, a student comes running in, totally panicked and yelling for help like something wild just happened. None of the students can even move. They're just stuck, totally scared. Out of nowhere, 2 massive blood rats showed up, and the team leader freaked out, telling everyone to get out fast. Outside the dungeon, word gets out that 3 students already got taken out by those monsters. The girl with pink hair started stressing and told everyone they needed to squat up fast. While her friends are nowhere in sight, she's sprinting through the woods, barely able to catch her breath. She suddenly notices her friends are nowhere in sight, and just like that, she's left standing by herself. That sinking feeling hits. She's totally alone now. She looks around, totally confused about where she ended up, not recognizing anything around her. She suddenly spots a huge shadow, and this massive creature just shows up right in front of her. A huge gorilla-looking beast with glowing red eyes locks eyes with her, just standing there and watching her every move. The giant monster gets ready to strike while the girl just stands there, frozen and unable to move. With no way out, the student just barely manages to call for help under his breath. Right then, a red sword suddenly shows up in the air, flying straight at the creature. Su-ming shows up right on time, cutting down the monster and stepping in to help the girl.
Lately, I've had a strong addiction to watching manhwa and manga recap videos. Every single day, I find myself binging one after another, losing hours and days doing absolutely nothing productive. And honestly, it's getting out of hand. So, maybe we can make these viral videos too. I mean, look at the views, the growth, the community these creators are building. It looks simple, right? But that's a trap. You go down this endless rabbit hole, spending money, losing sleep, hiring editors and writers from Fiverr and Upwork, and still feel like you've been robbed. Because don't forget how emotional the YouTube algorithm can be with making videos go viral. It's unpredictable, especially when the market's saturated, competition's relentless, and somehow other creators are dropping 10-hour videos daily while you're stuck trying to finish one. That's when I realized something had to change. So, I built the solution, the Webtoon Narrative Suite, a complete one-click system that handles everything from cropping, script narration, text-to-speech, image processing, and full video generation in one smooth process. Save money, reduce hours of work, and have a tool that only gives you straight results. Click on the link down below and experience it for yourself. And if you want even more tools to supercharge your YouTube recap journey, visit my Ko-Fi and Patreon pages where I drop weekly new tools designed to keep you ahead as AI continues to steal our jobs. So tap in now before you get left behind.